Welcome to the Talking Timelines podcast. We are four women with 4 points of view and 4 accents with one common goal: to share insights and information about what's going on in the world from a higher consciousness perspective. No BS, no PC, just lots of ideas that you won't hear on mainstream media. We chat, we laugh, and most of all, we shed and share light. Join us each week as we talk timelines.
Hi everyone, welcome to Talking Timelines episode 45 today, and I've got Laura and Lisa with me. We're not sure if Susan's coming in or not. Somebody came to the door, it happens. And today we're going to be talking about relationships, toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, and how the energies are coming through and affecting us at the moment. So who's going to start? Laura, you sent a video over that you mentioned, and I didn't get a chance to see it. Do you want to tell us what was in that to start?
Sure. So for those who may know, her name is Sabrina. I don't know her last name, but she does rewilding for women. Is like her channel. She's got a huge YouTube following, TikTok, she's on all the platforms. And she did a video recently about how there's so much talk about, that we're switching from out of the patriarchy and down with the patriarchy. And it's all about, yes, we want the matriarch to, and that energy. And yes, we need a matriarchy. And she said that that's actually not what we want, because then you bring up the dark side of that as well. There's the light, there's the just like there's the dark side of the masculinity, there's the dark side of the feminine as well. And by bringing that into power, you're going to bring in both sides. So we don't want to go from one extreme to another. We want a balance of both. And I was so thrilled to see that, because I haven't seen anyone bring that up. And it just intuitively, it felt like, well, first of all, they're always bashing the men and bashing the patriarchy. Yes, there's a lot of issues with that. However, whenever you do that, you're creating an imbalance. So I thought it was just really important to talk about.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, in the past, we've lived in a matriarchal society, and we've all been taught about that. But when you mention it, men, they get kind of upset about it, like we want to dominate them. And it's not, to me, matriarchal society is not about that. It's about the divine feminine leading the way, and it's about the divine feminine in the men as well, because we've got divine masculine and divine feminine in us, and that's where people are getting confused about it. I think it's not about women being women and men being men.
Right.
It's about us being balanced, all of us being balanced in our masculine and in our feminine. And something popped into my head about when I was thinking about this. It's like men learning to nurture. Like, I think boys that have been brought up in a family where there's been pets or younger sisters or, something like that, they learn nurturing techniques. And there is a physical thing that I've always thought was an interesting question. Why do men have nipples? When women breastfeed and men have got nipples, they've got no purpose other than maybe they were surrogate soothers for children years ago. Who knows? But it seems to be a part of their anatomy that nobody knows. I've asked the question.
Go and ask AI.
No, I don't talk to AI. I'm anti-AI, you know that. But I mean, it is a good question. Why are they there? And even in nature, there is a fantastic documentary on Netflix about the sea wolves on Vancouver Island, when the 2 alpha females in the end shared a den with their 4 pups and took it in turns. One babysat and one went out and got food, whereas before, only usually one of the pups would die. And even the wolves in Vancouver Island are now working together to take care of the pups and go and get food and stuff like that, which shows that there is a turnaround in the energy that's affecting the animal kingdom as well, not just us. So the toxic masculine is coming through at the moment, and the toxic feminine will come through as well. And you can see that in aggressive women that are hating on men, and they've got it in their head that, men are the bad guys and stuff like that. And unfortunately, some very dark men do have had control of the planet, and we're moving away from that with what's coming through. But it's people need to understand that when we talk about matriarchy, it's about the matriarchy in the male and female. That's what we're getting at here. What's your thoughts on it, Lisa?
Yeah, I see actually now that we're talking about it, we do see like evidence of it everywhere. Like with the men that are, saying like basically they're making their case for like we should have more balance in the world, and it's like there's certain programs in the past like feminism and all of that that what was the purpose of that? So was it to empower women or was it to bash on men? It's I think it depends on how, if you could look at, everyone could look at the same thing and they can have a different perception that they deduce from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then it's parlayed, right? And out there. So anything that creates like a divide, even with the movies, I'm noticing too, is that the storylines. They have
Mm-hmm.
to, they come up with creative storylines, but largely it's like about infidelity or this person, plotting against another person, that type of thing. And it's so out there. So it's just like people watching it will actually think that it's almost like the norm. That's what happens or whatever. And but now, like I think that also we prejudge. So meaning that there's a lot of people that, like, I'll just say like single people out there, but they'll meet somebody and they'll say, no, they're not my type, but they won't give themselves the patience to allow the magic to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll give you an example. Like say like with my boyfriend and I, like when we got together, like a lot of people say, okay, the honeymoon stage is over. Well, I found it different because I find as time goes on, I find I fall deeper in love with him,
Mm-hmm.
but on a different level. Not to say that we don't have our disagreements, and we do. We had one yesterday, last
Mm-hmm.
night, and we do. But the thing is that I just think that there's not one size fits all. But we're starting to see a lot more understanding, or a lot of grace. And again, it's just like we're in a microwave society, so people say, "Oh no, they're not my type. They're too short." I'm not. I don't think I'm physically attracted to that person. And yet, like they just, well, why not? Why does it have to be, one of those instantaneous things? So we're starting to see changes like now because you're starting to see people with even social media accounts that are saying it wasn't love at first sight, but now, like, what we're seeing is like, wow, we do have so much in common, and I would never have seen this happen if I didn't give myself the grace. I could have shot that person off or whatever. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we are seeing, and with animals too, we're seeing. And I know, and I know there's a lot of AI out there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
With the animals and things like that. But we're seeing also like different, dogs. Say, for example, they're adopting cat litters, or
Mm-hmm.
cat litters are, adopting, other litters. And so we're seeing more of that. And perhaps it was always there. I don't know. But because social media is global, I don't know, we're just learning something new every day. And I feel optimistic about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of movies and stuff, like you said, that are there's subliminal messages in there. And I'll give you an example of one. There's a movie called Hancock with Will Smith. I don't know if you've seen it, but he's got superpowers. And in that, he ends up meeting his twin soul. And when they come together, they lose their superpowers. Whereas then you look in the movie like The Matrix, when Neo and Trinity come together in The Matrix, their power is amplified
Yes.
when they come together. And that's it, so you can see the difference in what's being, if you meet the perfect match for you, it's going to weaken you and stuff like that being put out into the world. When we're both balanced. If you're a female that's balanced in your male and female energy, and a man that's balanced in your male and female, the energy that is in there is extremely powerful. There's going to be no stopping a couple that are balanced together. It does make, it does make a big difference.
I was going to say it's also really interesting to look at gender roles and how that basically is ingrained from birth. Right? And it plays a huge part, and it plays a big part of Lisa, what you were talking about as well, because think about it, a baby's born, and what do? They put the blue and the pink. So
Yeah.
already there is, and it varies from obviously from culture to culture and society, but like in the West, it's like, okay, there are colors, there are this, the boys with the trucks, the girls with the dolls. That's from birth. So you are programmed that this is how a woman, a girl acts, this is how a boy acts. And that's where like they're missing out. Both of them actually missing out because they're the ones that don't, deviate and become, they're considered, oh, it's a tomboy or he's a this. So even the ones that do kind of have more of a free expression, they're considered sort of like, oh, they're out of the norm as instead of like, wow, that's just part of being human. So that's also ingrained, and then it plays a role in dating. This is how a man's supposed to be, and this is the woman. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. If I'm giving my power away and I'm letting him do this, I'm not owning my power. And then it gets all mumbled up and confused. And that's what I think we went through with the women's movement and whatever. And now it's kind of coming back to, wait a minute, where's the balance, or where is, first of all, there is so much now in terms of gender roles, it's like all over the place with that, because basically, I don't know whether gender is going away or whether it's just going to
That's a
keep being
whole other
subdivided.
yeah, that's a
Right,
whole
right.
other agenda.
But that's a huge part of it too, is that we're so ingrained that this is how we're supposed to behave, that to think it's okay to do otherwise is, it's just wrong.
Did you know that originally, like, babies are generally dressed in powder blue or baby pink, like, pastel-y shades. Did you know that baby blue was actually for the girls and pink was for the boys originally? It's been flipped. Did you know that? The
Oh,
divine
When
feminine
was it
is the
when was it
divine,
flipped?
but I don't know who flipped it, but it
Everything's been
wouldn't,
flipped, so
yeah, everything's been flipped. The divine
yeah.
feminine energy is sky blue. Powder blue is divine feminine. So if you think about it, it would make sense to put boys in pink to feed the pink into their heart chakra to keep them heart centered. And it's been flipped. When I read that, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I used to, joke with my son years ago, like, real men wear pink. I used to say it all the time. Real men wear pink. And I love to see a man in a nice pink linen shirt. I think it's really attractive. The softness of it, the fact that they're comfortable with their masculinity to be able to wear pink
Yeah.
and lilac on a man, and nice aquamarine, light colours, pastel shades. Very attractive. There's a softness about it. So I found that super interesting when I found out that, girls should be wearing powder blue and boys should be wearing pink back in the day.
never heard that. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. So what these energies that have been coming through recently are really pointing out the toxic masculinity out there. And you've got these lovely guys on Instagram now, when I do drop on, that are sharing about how women should be treated and how men should behave towards women and taking care of us and stuff like that. And we were talking about it. There's a guy saying, if you're with your wife or girlfriend, you should be paying the bill. You should be emptying the trash. You should be making sure the tyres and the oil and water on her car are okay. And if you can afford it, even fill it up with gas for her so she doesn't have to stand at a gas station late at night if she needs gas on her own. Just all of these things, opening the doors. I'm in for all of that. I look after my man. I'm quite happy to do all the laundry and that kind of, stuff. That men are not always that great. He doesn't understand separating colours and whites, put it that way. So I take control of all of that. And I do most of the cooking, but that's because I like to know what I'm eating.
Me too.
And he takes me out for dinner. I get taken out for dinner
Yeah.
probably 3 times a week. So, the balance is there. It doesn't expect me to cook every night of the week. And more of this needs to come into relationships. I think people get too familiar and they just expect or don't expect from one another, and the relationship starts to break down because we're not making the effort. It's like you said, Lisa, about keeping the honeymoon period going, which I know you do in your relationship. How many years in are you now? 5 years in, you still send little love notes and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, not every day, but like us, I stay up a little bit later because he goes to bed earlier, but he's up earlier, and so I have my Lisa time, and he has his time in the morning. But I always have, well, not every day, but because you want to have the little surprises,
Yeah,
and I have these sticky notes that are either on the coffee cream in the fridge, or they're on the butter dish, or they're on
yeah,
the tea tin,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so he finds them, he loves that.
Yeah, I'm into stuff like that as well. If I'm going away, like when sometimes I come and stay with Lisa and we have a girls' night, I will kiss a post-it sticker and put it on the pillow on his bed, on our bed, so that he finds a kiss when he goes to bed. Little things like that. And I've always done that, even when I was, I've been in a long-term relationship. I was with my son's dad on and off for 26 years. So it's just not every day, because then it's not the
Right.
same. A little surprise here and there, just showing
Yeah.
you care. It's not difficult to do. Instead of people and talking about things as well, instead of letting it build up, letting the resentment build up in relationships. And these men are doing a great job, but they're getting attacked by other men online for calling them pussies and stuff like this, because they want to help their women and they want to do more for their women. But I'm impressed with how many guys are on Instagram now talking about this kind of stuff, talking about taking role, be the man, but be caring. It's okay to
Yeah, well,
be soft. It's okay to be gentle. It's okay to buy flowers. Some men wouldn't even buy their wife or girlfriend some flowers because they think they're too macho, you know. So there is a change coming, and I welcome it. These guys, I send all their videos to my son, and say, this is really good information. He's got a new girlfriend. If you want to be in a happy relationship, listen to these men. They're wise men sharing how to, keep your relationship on track and on happy, and don't take advantage of one another, and don't just expect things all the time. Check in, have date nights. I think you should have
Yes.
at least one date night every week,
Yeah.
whether that's going out or whether it's watching a movie and having popcorn and pizza, whatever works for you. But it's just for the two of you. If you want your relationship to last, you have to put something into it, for sure.
Yeah.
So what's coming up now is the toxic masculinity, and the toxic femininity will come out as well, because I've thought about years ago why men were scared of women. A lot of men are scared of women, and they were scared of women
they're
because
powerful.
we're powerful, but for 400 years there was witchcraft going on, spell casting on them and stuff like that. And they've done it to us as well. Men can be witchy as well in black magic and all that stuff. And when people, if you're out there think there's no such thing, go and look up online in Saudi Arabia. If you get caught practicing black magic, it's a death sentence. So it is a real thing. It does happen. People do use magic. So that old stuff from the 13th to the 17th century, there was a lot of that stuff going on. Men got frightened of women. If they haven't had a good relationship with their mother, there's a disconnect as well. So all of these things make a difference. If they haven't had a good father figure, men have got a disconnect. So they need mentoring. If women have had any kind of abuse, which is in our DNA, the toxic masculinity is in their DNA. And we've all got to take responsibility for this stuff, because it's polluting all of us. There's no them and us here. There is only us, because we're all connected. And all
Yeah.
of
So do
this
you
stuff is coming up.
it's a good point you bring up about the relationship with the parents because they've learned how to treat the opposite sex from the parent. So like you said, so if their father was abusive to the mother and wasn't soft to her, they're going to learn this is what a guy does. And the
Hmm.
same thing with the mother that's bashing the husband or whatever. A lot of it, so much of it is learned from there on top of what society, it's like, well, I never saw my father being gentle with, you know, I'm not saying personally myself, but I'm just saying someone could say, I haven't seen my father being gentle with my mother. So, wow, that's not my role model of how a man's supposed to be.
Yeah,
So that compounds it as well. And it's not easy. It's
yeah.
a complicated. There's lots of layers to it.
Yeah, and I think one of the main things that I'm noticing coming up in men at the moment is their inner child. If that inner child hasn't been nurtured by both parents, there's an imbalance there, and that neediness, that need for love and need for affection. And these men that are out there saying that, well, men find affection through sex, that's BS. They can be buddies and like love their best friend, but they don't want to have sex with them. So it's not, down in their base chakra as it's being put out there. This is the way men show their love for you, is having sex with you. That's total BS. That's somebody that's got the wrong messages and is coming from the wrong place. It's a completely different feeling when you're having sex with somebody to when you're making love to somebody from your heart center. It's a different feeling. Women feel safer. We pick up on these energies. You can tell if you're with a man whether he's having sex with you or making love to you, because the color of the energy in your energy field is different. For a start off, you're not in the red and black base chakra. You're in the pink and the aquamarine heart chakra, and that energy feels softer, makes us feel safer, and so on, because it's like you're being wrapped in cotton wool in that experience.
I think that's a slight nuance to that. And that is because men are they're not as verbal. They don't have the same emotional bandwidth that women do, that is a way that they do connect and feel. But you are talking about two different kinds of sex. You're talking about
Mm-hmm.
making love versus just, screwing.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of from what I've heard about this is that women get that connection. They get turned on through talking,
Mm-hmm.
through intimacy, through verbal intimacy. Men don't have the same capacity. It's true, we have different brains.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do feel closer through physical contact.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some nuance to this. I don't think it's 100% BS, but it's not just the end all of, oh yeah, men need to sex to feel, because there are a lot of men that are very verbal and they love to talk and they love to express. But for a lot of them, they can't do that. They really are incapable of really expressing themselves. So they do it physically. And you can tell the difference.
Yeah, absolutely, you can. Yeah. So what I've
Yeah.
noticed coming through with these energies, what these energies are powerful coming through at the moment, this source energy is coming into the planet, and that toxic masculinity is being churned up, and how it pans out in people. And there was a guy on Instagram talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't find the video again, but he was saying about if women calls a man out because he's done something wrong, bad behavior, what they'll do is, oh, you're oversensitive. They'll twist it, deny it, say, I didn't mean it like that, when obviously they did, because we can feel the energy. I'm extremely sensitive. People can lie to me, but I can feel the truth. And then it gets twisted to, you're too sensitive, and a bit of gaslighting goes on, and then it's what I do for you, I do this for you, I do that for you, and then it gets twisted to you're, not respecting me, you don't love me, and it all gets turned around. So that's toxic masculinity. So the woman ends up being the bad guy in this, and who's not appreciative of all the stuff that they're providing gets thrown in your face, basically, and nothing about what they do. It's all taken for granted, the laundry and the cooking and the shopping and the, keeping the house clean and all that stuff isn't even brought into that argument. And this is toxic masculinity, and that's what's being pushed out of the men at the moment. And if they don't realize it's going on, it's breaking relationships down because of the gaslighting that goes on and twisting things around to put them in the driving seat. They've got to win the argument, or they deflect to what you're talking about. They'll talk about, well, such and such doesn't do, and then they're throwing it over to another area of conversation and not on, on point of what this discussion is actually about, or what's actually, and it's called deflection technique as well. So that's what's coming up at the moment to be healed in the masculine. This masculine wound is coming up as well to be healed in them. And men have been abused by women. I don't doubt that at all. Some men have had really horrible moms or sisters that beat them up when they were younger, or bullied them and stuff like that. So, the men do need the help, but they need to understand that they've got to look into this and heal it within themselves, or else it's not going to go away. There'll be relationship after relationship where the same thing keeps coming up, the same problems keep coming up, because they're not looking at it. They need to look
Well,
into
they've also been told to repress everything and don't express how you feel and don't be soft and don't show you're sad and don't cry. So they're so used to repressing everything that doesn't work either.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm noticing that's been coming up with these energies pouring through at the moment. And at some point, the toxic femininity is going to come up as well, because it works through layers, the changes that are happening. The other thing a lot of men and women don't understand is women's base chakra is our sacral chakra. That's the womb area. Men's base chakra is one below that. It's the base chakra. So we come from our emotional center, and women tend to be more emotional than men. When they're looking at a man, they're looking at a man not just because they want to have sex with him. They're looking at a man, well, is this man going to be a good provider? Is he going to be, is he going in touch with his emotions? They're thinking about love and long-term relationships, whereas men are in that base energy, and that's where they ground from. But they can, through meditation, pull that energy up into their sacral chakra, which is the manifesting chakra as well, by the way. That's the creative center, the orange one. They can move that up, and they can get into that connection. My partner knows how to do that. He knows how to change the energy to bring it into harmony with my energy when we're intimate together. And I've noticed it, which is a rare thing in men, for them to be able to do that. It's not just about the heart connection. It's about consciously setting his intention to bring his energy field into harmony with my heart center, and what, and it works. I can feel it. I can feel the connection. It's like it creates a loop.
Yeah.
And men need to be taught how to do that. Women need to be taught how to do it. This wasn't something my girlfriends were talking about 20 years ago. So we've all got room for improvement.
What would you say toxic femininity looks like?
Manipulation, control, using feminine weakness to win.
Manipulation, yes, you nailed it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's and that works both ways as well. But I've met women I remember when my son was at school, which is a long time ago. He's 34 now. When he was at baby school, so he was only about 5 or 6. And I was never one of these women that stood at school gates waiting to pick him up, chit-chatting. And, I was always a bit of a loner with that. They weren't my kind of people. And I remember overhearing a conversation in a group of women next to me, and she was talking about her new Jeep. And saying, what do you think of the Jeep? She said, yeah, I refused to have sex with him until he bought me a new car. That's toxic femininity.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I was like, wow, how could you do that to your husband? It's just, yeah, exactly. And they were all like, oh, good for you. So now you know why I stood on my own. It's not the kind of women I want to hang out with.
Unless she really didn't enjoy having sex with him. And she was like, oh, the only way I'm going to do this is if you get me a car.
It was like, but that's an extreme case of toxic femininity. Using sex to get what you want is another big one.
I think
What
women use that
about
a lot.
Yeah, like, like think about like over the years how many times we've seen something like that. You're not getting any sex until this or that or whatever. But like it's what about divorce parties? Like that to me is just like the most bizarre thing.
Yeah, that is bizarre. I agree with you.
There's
Yeah,
nothing positive about it, you know? Like it's
yeah,
just like why celebrate it? Celebrate because usually there's one or two people that are suffering in there. It's not like, like and on the odd case, you have someone that I remember reading about this years ago that at the 15-year mark, they said, you know what, it's been great. Like, how about like, we just call it quits now. They were
yeah,
both in agreement with that. But, like to go out and celebrate and largely there's just you hear about like 99% of divorces are just like, there's this that's wrong with her or him, right?
yeah.
It's
The other
sad.
side of it is people don't understand that they're projecting their own shortcomings onto their partner. So it's like you're this, you're that, you're defensive when really they've got their own defensiveness that they're projecting onto one another. If people were taught that they're looking in a mirror, your partner is a mirror to you. Anything that triggers you in your partner, anything you don't like, if in your partner, if it triggers you, it's in you because they're a projection of your consciousness. Then healing could take place really quickly if people take responsibility. Well, if I'm seeing this in my partner and I don't like it, how do I heal it in me so I don't keep seeing it in my partner? And letting that energy go. Because we're full of programs of our parents, grandparents, ancestral lineage, toxic, femininity, the abuse of the female, the war in men over the centuries, all of that stuff is in us. It's in all of us, and it all needs to be healed. And that's what we're
Yeah.
seeing in the world at the moment. We're seeing repetition of history repeating itself with wars and, dictators and all this other stuff and experimentation with certain things. All of this stuff needs to be healed in everyone because the collective is projecting as well. And why aren't we being taught this in school? The world would be a different place if we were taught that everyone's a mirror, what you see in them, what you don't like
Yeah.
in them, heal it in yourself. Go and sit
We
in
don't
the.
want empowered people walking around the planet who think for themselves and live
No,
consciously.
they've got a different agenda, way different.
Yeah, but we are, we're moving into a lot of people are schooling their children now and stuff like that. So this needs to be taught. It needs to be taught. I was in a bookstore yesterday and there was a woman with a little girl and I mentioned about a book called Harold and the Purple Crayon, and it's a hardback book and it's about manifesting. It teaches children how to manifest at an early age. That book. It's a great book if you've got small children. Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Been around
Um,
forever.
yeah, it's been around for a long time. It really has.
Yeah, isn't there a movie made out of that book?
There's some videos on YouTube of it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, there is. But it's understanding one another. There's not enough level of understanding. And the other thing that's been coming out as well is this psychology stuff and psychiatrist stuff and how that is all just perpetuates the incorrect information and keeps people, going back for more and going back for more. Just keep talking about the same problem over again and over again and over again and not bringing up this projection. You're projecting onto them, heal this within in yourself, and the projection's going to change. These old systems, they're there to keep people going back every 2 weeks for therapy. How many people do you hear in America saying my therapist that they've been seeing for 10 years? We don't get that in the UK. It's normal to have a therapist that you go and see for years and years and years in America. It's propagated. And it's not like that in Europe.
That's why I didn't become one. Everyone's told me my whole life, you should be a therapist. No, I don't want to be a therapist. I
Yeah.
intuitively was like, it's not
Well,
it.
I'm qualified in hypnotherapy and counselling and NLP and various other things, and I have to call myself something. So,
I know, but you're
therapist.
not quite
I'm not a
the expert.
therapist.
You're not the typical therapist walking
No,
around.
I'm a consciousness architect. But you have to have qualifications these days to be recognized, and that's why I did all that
Right,
stuff.
right,
And then I use, all the best bits of everything I've learned
right.
over the decades to get results. But people don't understand one another. These simple things, the mirror of consciousness in one another, and taking responsibility what you're seeing in other people and what's creating a charge in you, it would be so helpful. It doesn't need to be taught to 10-year-olds, but it could be taught to, once they start getting into relationships. These days, about 13, 14, people start getting their first, girlfriends and boyfriends at that age. It needs to be taught, I think, anyway.
I think it's going to have to be from the parents then. It's going to have to come from them too. So it's, but we see a mixed bag out there. We see some parents doing amazing things when it comes to guiding their kids, and some are completely where the kids completely rule the roost.
Yeah.
And it's just like shocking to me. Yeah.
Well, I shared an article on Instagram a few years back about children should not be the most important part of the family. The parents are the most important part of the family, because if they're in good shape, that trickles down to the children. But, we've talked about this before. There's a lot of children that are ruling the roost through manipulation, and they're learning it from their parents. They're learning how they manipulate one another, and they use that manipulation on their parents to get what they want as well. So manipulation's a big one. It really is. That needs to be taken out of the mass consciousness. But
Also, women women are a little bit more like calculate. It's like, and there are men that will admit this and say women are much smarter than men most of that time, because they just have just different brain capacity in terms of like understanding human behavior. So they know how to manipulate. They know how to kind of be a little more calculating. It's sort of like built in.
Yeah, and I'm not saying women don't gaslight either. They can do that as well. It's learned.
Yeah.
It's in a my good friend of mine told me, and I can't remember the guru's name now. It's from a few decades ago. And apparently women are born 16 times more intelligent than men, and men are born 8 times more confident than women. That's interesting.
I wonder who got those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it came from this big guru, famous guru. So I don't know where the numbers came from, but
Yeah,
difficult.
famous guru, like really, like did he?
But
I don't
it
know.
was a
I'm just so
man. It was a
skeptical.
man saying it, though.
I'm
It was
so skeptical. I'm so
Yeah.
skeptical these days because, there's so much content that these people have to come up with. And it's like,
Well,
I don't know. I'm just,
this was going back decades before social media. This is old stuff, and it's coming from a male Indian guru. So who
don't say
knows?
Deepak Chopra.
Oh God,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
no,
No.
Yeah.
no.
And as a side note for the listeners or our audience, you kind
Well,
of
there's
know what's going on there.
a lot of people are being outed at the moment, aren't they? A lot of
Yeah.
people.
Like, yeah,
Daily,
Yeah,
daily.
daily.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
daily. Like it's all like it's just so surreal because we
Oh,
didn't think a lot of this was going to come out. A lot of, what, people calling us conspiracy theorists over. And now it's all coming out, and there's like in the highest levels. Like we're
yeah.
talking hearings in Congress, we're talking Epstein documents, things like that. And then largely we are as a population of the world definitely still like we are divided.
Hmm.
And again, since the 2020, what had happened there, or the start of something that happened there, it's like most people now still can't agree to disagree. So there's, I would love to see that change, like love thy neighbor type thing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, but the programming runs deep, and we know we're heading into a future where a couple of different timelines are going on, and it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot. I now see there's certain influencers and gurus and whatever that I've never really been a follower. Um, but my gut feeling was something doesn't feel right, and then I start reading about how these people have been propagated and put out there.
Yes. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
they've changed, or they started out years ago
Yeah.
and before they've been infiltrated or whatever, and then now it's so obvious.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
to a lot of people. But yeah, really,
Yeah.
really
The
interesting.
truth is coming out. It can't be hidden anymore. That's the good thing about raising your frequency. You can feel it. You can feel if
Mhm.
it's not true instantly. Like, no, that's not
Yeah.
true. I do anyway.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
I find, I don't know, Laura, if you're finding this, but Janine and I talked about this a while ago. And from time to time we bring it up. It's just like our circles are getting smaller but stronger, like we don't have to be friends with everybody. We don't have to have those big circles. And granted, there are lots of, that going on social media. But the thing is that it's just I find that there's more of the awakened population that are just they're living in more of their bliss, and they're not, participating in, some of the dog eat dog, the grind of, before, like there's it's still out there, but it's like definitely the timeline has shifted.
Yeah.
So
And there's a lot going on Insta. I mean, I haven't been live on Instagram in 2.5 years now. There's a lot
mhm.
going on these platforms where people are attacking one another. So-called spiritual people are attacking one another. There's a homeopath that I've been watching, a naturopath, I think she is, and a doctor attacking one another online. And it's really interesting to watch. And it's a shame that women are doing that as well. That sisterhood stuff between two completely different opinions. Just if you don't
I think
agree with
some of
what,
them are using it to try to prove, yeah, they're trying to prove their stance. So
yeah,
what they
it's
do is
like,
they knock the other one down to say, see, I'm right.
yeah, but they're both convinced that they're right. So it's a in stalemate. It's a complete stalemate.
Mhm.
So
Yep, I was just going to mention that even you're seeing it with like the vegetarians or the whole food plant-based community, going against the meat eaters and or the carnivores, and the carnivores vice versa, right? And it's just like, like follow what feels good for you,
yeah,
right? And like, don't have to get like everybody on your eating plan. And I see a lot of them making their case for this or that, and it's like, that's, it's just that I could see why so many people are confused out there because they hear so much. It's there's everything's out there, so it's like, okay, it's like an obstacle course,
hmm,
and so you're navigating through that, and it's just like, okay, it's exhausting. It's that's why it's nice to be off of screen time.
yeah, and being aware to avoid
Yeah, and it's
the
constant.
Armageddon crowd, I
Yeah.
call them.
Yes.
There's a lot of that going on. Armageddon's coming, like you need to stock up on food, and you need them, like, not in my reality.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, so much of that all over the place. And water, you're gonna run out of water, stock up in water, see what's happening here, like the whole thing. And I'm like, sorry, six
Yeah,
years ago
Oh.
I did that. I'm not doing
yeah,
that again. But you know
Yeah.
what I noticed the other day is that social media, when we think back to like when Facebook first started, it really was a social thing. And you only saw people that you were connected with. And it occurred to me the other day that Facebook, probably the majority of what's coming at you is not even people that you are quote unquote friends with.
yeah,
It's more information. It's like it's news stuff. It's suggesting people to you. Same thing with Instagram. So now all of a sudden, all this information is coming at you when, wow, I just wanted to see what was going on. So I realized what all this information is coming in. I don't necessarily want all this information.
yeah.
So that's where the real discernment has to come in, is that things are not what they used to be.
Yeah.
It's not social media.
No,
It's
it's not. It's
media in your
advertising,
face.
and
Yes.
Yeah,
advertising and information, and this is going on in here, and this is going on, and oh my God, we have to freak out. Like
it's called attention economy.
yeah.
That's a
Yes.
correct term for it, attention economy. There was somebody on
Yeah.
there recently talking about how the human brain and how we function is meant, we were designed to live in communities of 150 to 175 people. That's all we can cope with. So now we're going on social media and we're being blasted with millions of,
Oh
bits of
yeah, I
information
think
and
it was
people and what
Hughes. Yeah.
it's actually damaging to the human
Mhm.
psyche because it overwhelms it, because the human brain takes it in.
Yep.
Even though consciously you're thinking, well, that's, war's the other side of the world. You've just programmed that into your consciousness,
Yeah.
and that affects your nervous system and your vagus nerve, and so much anxiety in the world because of overstimulation as well. So people do need to be careful. They certainly need to be careful what their children are watching.
Well, not only that, we used to have time, and I think the same person that said that was also saying how we used to be bored. Like it's good to be
Yeah,
bored. Good to
yeah,
have
Yeah.
time when your brain can process what's going on or what it just experienced. We don't have that anymore.
yeah,
Like when you would just go for a walk or look out the window or listen to that time doesn't exist for most people. And you can
yeah.
look when you see that there is any downtime. Someone's waiting online, someone's at a stoplight, whatever, they're on their phone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the way to really be because that's also the creative. That's when you're creative. That's when you can process. That's when you can make correlations. It's really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Or you're made to feel lazy if you're not working 12 hours a day.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
huge.
big one. That
That's a
is,
big one. That is so huge out here in the West
hmm
that it is absolutely ridiculous.
hmm
And
I
so
think
then
that's
the
changing though.
yeah,
I think
I
that's
hope
changing because
so.
I'm seeing a lot of work smarter, not longer. And you just have to, you don't need to do all this. It's not the hours. It's the energetics behind what you're doing that I've seen a lot of people teaching is the energy behind not just putting more crap out there. Like just if
Yeah.
you're
yeah. What I
that.
used to do when I woke up in the morning and did my morning meditation was, higher self, what do I need to focus on today? And it would come to me, and that's what I'd work on today. And that completely changed the way my production, my output, rather than sit in front of a computer all day overworking, which I was off balance with. I'd procrastinate and then I would be doing 14 hours days. Was, what do I need to focus on today? What is the project for today? And getting myself into working like 2 to 4 hours a day rather than 14 hours a day. And then 3 days I can't work at all because my mind is just overwhelmed
Mhm.
with doing too much. And that was life changing for me. I was more
Yeah.
productive. I got everything wanted to do done. And I've never been someone who journals. I don't write lists. That's how I
Yeah.
live. What do I need to do today in the present for today? And that's it. And your higher self will give you the information. It drops in as a thought. And when you can get into that connection, life's different, very different.
Yes. Yeah. More blissful.
Yeah. Like every day, what do I need to eat today? What does my body need today?
Yeah.
And now I get told, I
Yeah.
need salad. I'll go and get salad today. What do I need? I need pear. I need a peach. Even the fruit I need comes to me
Yeah.
because I've got that connection.
Yeah. And some days you feel like vegetarian, some days you feel like a good steak. Sometimes you feel like, just potato skins, like an appetizer for dinner. That's it. And
Hmm.
you know what? I don't know about you girls, but I've just find that my greatest meals are happening at home.
Hmm.
I'm eating a lot less than ever before because I do question, a lot of the seed oils and canola is, and they name it something different in the restaurants, but that's all that's used in the restaurants because of its being cheap. And I'll give you an example, like even in Vancouver, there's a beautiful organic restaurant there, and my friend, she loves going there, but she even asked, "What type of oil do you use?" And they said, "Well, we cannot use olive oil because it's otherwise our prices would be through the roof." So they
Yeah.
use like canola oil like for their meals. So you're going to eat organic, but that salad is going to be tossed in some kind of mixture that has seed oil.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I'm super fussy about oily food anyway, because my liver doesn't like it. If I eat fried food, my liver's
Ew.
sore the next day.
Yeah, I can't do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
no,
So,
yeah.
okay. Well, I think that's been an interesting show today. Thank you for joining me.
From male toxicity to potato skins.
Yeah. Across the board. Across the board.
Yeah, big
Okay.
change, big change.
Yeah. It's been a good show. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me, girls. And thanks for listening at home. Please do share this with your friends, because we don't market it ourselves. We just put it out there. And we'll see you next time on Talking Timelines. Bye for now.
Right. Thank you.
Bye. Disclaimer: the content in this podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. The views, opinions, and information shared do not necessarily represent those of the hosts, but is provided for additional perspectives. None of the hosts are medical professionals, so we do not dispense medical advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any health-related issues. And thank you for listening to Talking Timelines.